Hello, it's been a while. The last time I uploaded was the game review for Game 5 of Tampa Bay versus Boston, where Boston got eliminated. Sad times, but we move on to everyone's least favorite time of the year, and that is the NHL offseason, or at least mine. I'm not wearing a Bruins jersey because it's July and just wasn't going to happen. Too heavy. Basement doesn't have AC, so I'm repping another local team, New England Revolution. Now, one thing that we have to go over before we go over the team currently is what have we lost this offseason? Well, so far we've lost Rick Nash, who I guess theoretically we haven't lost any of these four players yet, but they're most likely definitely not returning. And the first one's Rick Nash, who is considering retirement, many concussion issues and all that. But as a Bruins fan, I didn't really care to see him back. Probably would take too big of a cap hit. Got Brian Giunta, who I wouldn't mind if he signed a small money deal back here. Even Tommy Wingles, who also hasn't signed anywhere. I wouldn't mind either one of them just to have more depth at the forward position, because you never know when a fourth liner or a third liner needs to be replaced. And plus, those two guys probably wouldn't mind being on the ninth floor for a while, and they wouldn't mind just plugging a gap in the meantime. And then you got Paul Postma, who no want back. And but going on to the people who did sign in other places, you got Riley Nash taking 3 years, $2.75 million for the Blue Jackets. Really would have liked Riley Nash for another year. I'm not sure if any of the young centers are quite ready to take over the spot on the third line that he left this year. Then you got Anton Hudobin signing in Dallas for 2 years, $2.5 million average. He's probably going to be the backup to Ben Bishop. Ben Bishop will probably get injured, so Hudobin will probably get a chance. We replaced him, though. I'll go over that later. Tim Schaller, 2 years, $1.9 million. I hate to see Tim Schaller go. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears type of guy. Really put his body on the line. Hard player to play against. I bet anyone in the NHL would agree with that. Hate to see him go, but he had to go. He was going to take too much money from Vancouver, more than we could give him. Probably more than he's worth, to be honest, too. And then Nick Holden, which mind-bogglingly gets 2 years, $2.5 million. Really don't understand why he deserved that much. I didn't really think he was that good for the Bruins. But now we'll move on to the additions. Okay, so now I'll go over the extensions and additions from free agency. The first thing I'll go over is the extensions. We extended 2 players on our roster, and both are fairly interesting and intriguing to me. We have Matt Grzelcyk, 2 years, $1.4 million, and Sean Kuraly, 3 years, $1.275 million. Now, Grzelcyk is going to be interesting to see where he slots in the lineup, if he slots in at all in the top 6. I honestly don't know. I'll go over the lineups and where I think everyone will be later in the video. And then you got Kuraly, who 3 years, decent length. You wonder if he's going to take that Riley Nash role or if he's going to stay in his fourth line role. I'll also go over that in a little. New to the team, replacing Anton Hudobin, and I like this signing a lot. Yaroslav Halak, 2 years, $2.75 million. $250,000 more than Hudobin signed for, and I think you get a little more consistency out of Halak than you would Hudobin, and you also have someone who could probably take over for Tuukka if Tuukka goes cold, kind of like Hudobin did through the middle of last season, but I just like Halak's upside more than Hudobin's. You then get John Moore, not Dominic Moore. He is a left shot defenseman from New Jersey, 6'2", 6'3", big dude, decent skater. I actually watched the first game of the Tampa, New Jersey series to see what he's all about. Very stay-at-home. He's not going to produce much offense, but he can shoot the puck, and he will shoot the puck if given the lane. But I like the signing. You got Joakim Nordstrom, who will probably take over a fourth-line role this year, maybe just extra forward. And you got Chris Wagner, who will probably do the same thing as Joakim Nordstrom. Both 2 years, Nordstrom to $1.0 million and Wagner to $1.25 million. I'll now go over the lineups and how I think the team will look at the beginning of the year. So let's talk about the forwards. I'm going to go over the top 6 first because I only have 6 magnets to put on players, so that's just how I'm doing it. But I feel like it's good because it's very different parts of the team and you're expecting very different things from your top 6 and bottom 6. Now, I feel like a lot of people are sitting on this 5 being locked at these 5 positions. Bergeron center 1, Krejci center 2, DeBrusk left wing 2, Marchand left wing 2, and Pastrnak right wing 1. Now, the big glaring hole is the fact that we have 5 players that we all feel like are top 6 forwards. Jake DeBrusk, yes, he's only going into his second year, but he showed great promise in his first season and was fantastic in the series against the Leafs. The one thing I will question is, do you want to break up the first line? Best line in hockey, they say. A lot of people say no, and you have to keep it together. I, however, really feel like you need to split them up. Now, you may be saying, well, why you're crazy, the line's so good. Yes, the line is so good. But if they're not scoring, we're going to lose. And if you can get two lines that give you just as good production, because you got Pastrnak who put over 80 points this year, Marchand put 85, Bergeron had a hell of a season, around 30 goals. And if you just load the first line, you're going to be dead after that. Honestly, with the young talent you have, you're going to have off nights. You really need your studs to be spread out. Look at the Penguins. They split up Malkin and Crosby. They had Kessel on the third line. That's how you win, with depth scoring. And yes, you want your first unit to be as low as possible, but you don't want all your marbles in one basket. So I say you move Pastrnak down to the second to give Krejci some help. He's getting older, slower. He's got that back issue. He's got a hip issue. You need to give him the help. You need to give him the speed. You got Jake DeBrusk is a burner. He's going to be fantastic this year, I think. But he's going to have off nights where he can't carry Krejci by himself. I feel like shoving them with just a young player or like a David Backes or anyone like that just isn't doing it justice. And yes, you can make a trade for another top six forward, but I'm not discussing that in this part of the segment because it's just not fair to say we're going to easily insert Panarin or someone like that. It just isn't that easy, so I had to go out based on what we have right now. And I say you go back to Bajork, who played along... Oh, oops, my bad. I say we go to Bajork, or Anders Bajork, however you want to see it. But I say you go with him there, and I know his name's really small, and you probably can't read it. I didn't do a good job of printing that out, but I really feel like you gotta... He's not going to be great. Let's be honest. He's going to be okay. And he's going to get carried by Bergeron and Marchand, but that's okay. How many times have we seen Sidney Crosby carry Brian Rust or Connor Sheary or one of those players? It's just what you have to do, in my opinion. And I'll now move on to the bottom six. Okay, now we'll move on to the bottom six. Now, you may see I only have two names up there, that being Ryan Donato on the third line left wing right here, and Danton Heinen at third line right wing right there. Now, you may ask, why do you only have two players up? Because those are the two most important spots, in my opinion, is making sure you have Donato third line left wing. He should be there, and making sure you have Danton Heinen third line right wing. Now, you may say, why don't you put Heinen where you have Bajork? I think Heinen can carry his own, and he could probably lift up the third line some nights. He finished in our top 5 in scoring last season, so I really feel like having him on the third line would be a plus to our depth scoring. Now, the big debate, in my opinion, comes with who centers this line. Now, you may be asking yourself, does Sean Kuraly get the promotion and get the Riley Nash treatment? I honestly don't want to see it, but I would not be opposed to see it. I'm not really strongly opinionated on that. If you want to put him in third line, you can, but then who's on your fourth line? Backes at center? Maybe. But I go Kuraly, fourth line center. And for the third line center, I think it would be very beneficial if one of our youth players could rise up to the occasion, snag a spot straight out of training camp, and play from day one as the third line center. I think the leading candidates, and everyone has their favorite prospect. Now, I'm just going to put up 3 of them and put them together. Hopefully you've heard of them. They're all fairly highly touted prospects. But you got JFK, Jakob Forsbacher-Karlsson, Jack Studnicka, and Trent Frederick. All first or second round picks. Actually, Frederick's a first round pick 2 years ago. Studnicka, second round pick 2 or 3 years ago. JFK, same thing, 2 or 3 years ago. They're all top 2 round picks, and I really like to see one of them come in training camp and snag the job. Which one, I don't care, but I really feel like a youth third line would be important, and even though they'd have their down nights, hopefully the top 6 would come through. Now, as for the bottom 6, we have a few options. We have Nordstrom, Backes, and Achari, and I go Nordstrom fourth line left wing just because he has a left shot, and neither Achari or Backes have that. Joakim Nordstrom, and Wagner has a right shot too. Sorry to forget him. And then for the fourth line right wing, I go Backes. I do. Veteran leadership in the lineup. I think it is important in the regular season throughout the long stretches, and I just prefer him over Achari at this point in time. Now, I do not prefer that $6 million cap hit on the fourth line, and if you can move him, that would be great, but if he stays, fourth line right wing, I think is a spot for him. Wagner will be put in the lineup when Backes has his down moments, someone gets injured. Remember, it's important to have depth. People get injured. It's important to have depth. But this is how I see the bottom 6 shaking out. Really be interested. Put in the comments who you'd want to see on the 3rd line center and 4th line center, because I'm highly conflicted. I'll probably change my opinion tomorrow. Now we'll move on to the defense. Okay, now we're finally to the defense and the last part of the video. Now, as you can see, I already have 4 names up there, and I feel like these 4 are a lock for where they are in the lineup. You have Chara, first line left defense. If there's anyone who should be with Chara, it should be McAvoy, because of McAvoy's skating ability. He's probably the best skater on our blue line. He's probably the most equipped to carry Chara if Chara is caught on a play, because he's a little slower. In his own zone, Chara's a beast. We all know that. But transition play, Chara's just a little bit slower. I think McAvoy can carry him the best. It's an interesting combo, but I feel like that's the definite first pair, and Chara's still a beast at 40. The next, you got Carlo, second pair right defenseman. Now, don't forget, before the playoffs, before Carlo got injured, on the trip through the western U.S., like Midwest U.S., in Canada, Brandon Carlo was beasting. He was turning into a young stud before our eyes. He's using his body, his huge 6'5" frame, physicality. He was starting to put that into play better than he had earlier in the season. Earlier in the season, he wasn't looking too good. He started to turn around, and now he looked like a beast. So he should definitely get that second pairing role. Third pair, Miller, McQuaid. I prefer Miller because at the end of the year, Miller was looking a lot better than McQuaid, and Miller was a pretty big force in the series against Toronto and down the stretch at the end of the year. McQuaid will definitely get his shot to take the spot back, but for now I say it's Miller. Hopefully Miller can stay consistent. Now on to the second pairing left defenseman. Now really, you have 2 options here, and in my opinion, it's John Moore, the new signed guy, and Torrey Krug. Now, if we had better offensive depth, I'd probably go John Moore here. But because I feel like we need a little more offensive pop on the ice more of the time, I'm going to go with Torrey Krug here. Now, there's been a lot of speculation of Krug being traded because we have 8 NHL defensemen. Ooh, we have depth. I don't really see that, to be honest, because it feels like every year we have an injury to defensemen going into the playoffs. And I think it would be kind of stupid to move Torrey Krug because we have like good depth. I feel like you should keep the good cheap depth for now, and maybe in the future think about moving on from Krug. But now, no, I don't think it's the time. And on the last pair, I go John Moore. And I know a lot of people like Grzelcyk, but Grzelcyk is what he is. He's a bottom pairing defenseman. He's solid. But in this case, John Moore is just a better player, in my opinion, going into the season. Could that turn into something else once he puts on the Spoke B? It could, and Grzelcyk could take back that spot. But opening night, John Moore should be in the lineup. In 5 years, $2.75 million, he should be in the lineup for a while. That's how I see the defense shaping out. Goalies is obviously going to be Rask, backed up by Halak. If you have any thoughts, if you think I'm insane with my opinions, please let me know in the comments. If you agree with me, also let me know in the comments. Hit like, subscribe. Hopefully I'll be releasing some more videos on the Bruins this offseason, maybe some prospects who I think we should target for a trade for top 6 forward, if we even should, and just genuine other thoughts on the Bruins. I'll see you next time. Peace.